Welcome back to the Formula Virtual Racing Gran Turismo 7 League. We're here for Season 2, Round 4 here at the Circuit de la Sarthe for a 60-minute endurance race. My name is Nathan, your commentator for this evening and the rest of the season. Hello, welcome. How's everyone doing? You join us for the 10 minutes qualifying session here at Le Mans for this beautiful, beautiful circuit. We do have 4 minutes of admin to fill because the lap time is so long, but I'm sure we'll get through it in the end. We have 10 drivers on the grid. I think one just disconnected before qualifying started, so we will get them in back for the start of the race. Just a pre-race warning, I will be mentioning the results of last week's race throughout the course of tonight's stream, so if you haven't seen the last race at Brands Hatch when we were in the GT4s, then make sure you go check that out over on the YouTube channel. That was a great race for both strategically and on track. However, you've had your warning, and it was a great race won by Ramyazam in the Honda NSX. His first win of the season, kicking things off where he ended Season 1 after being hunted down by Ate Timgren for the majority of the final stint, and unfortunately he is not here tonight to make it back-to-back wins. However, we have got a couple of drivers on the grid who have gone back-to-back in terms of their podium finishing finishes. The two Spider GT drivers are the only two drivers to finish on the podium from the first three in all three races. So let's go through a couple of our drivers here tonight. Evan Dalton is currently leading the field with the 1 second time penalty. He is in as a replacement for tonight, driving in the Genesis. We have Xavier Maynard in second place, his teammate James Kidwell currently in 5th in this train. Expect to see this a lot during qualifying. The added straight line speed from the slipstream can be very effective down many of the long straights here at this circuit. The driver in front is punching a nice clean gap in the air, and just aids in straight line speed. We've got Ate Timgren also on the grid tonight. His teammate, I believe, disconnected before the start of qualifying, so we will get him in. But it does mean he will have to start from the back of Estegobardi, but he's got 1 win and 2 third places thus far this season, so it might be a little bit of a challenge to get up to that position, but not a track that's difficult for overtaking. Drivers now approaching the final couple of corners to start their flying laps. Well, effectively the green flag is waved now, 4 minutes into the qualifying session. Hello Joe, welcome in the chat. Hope you're having a great evening. And well, it looks like Xavier Maynard's pulled out a really nice gap to start his qualifying lap. I don't think Ate Timgren's in the slipstream behind. However, the other BCR car, James Kidwell, does appear to be closer to our flying Finn, and could see himself picking up the effects of the slipstream. Who else we have joining us tonight? Tim Denhire in the Nissan GTR. We will see what qualifying lap time he can do after failing to finish last week in Brands Hatch, unfortunately for him. We've got Noah Osbaldeston back with us in the Mercedes. We've got Maurizio Beltwist in 7th and Leon Van Fort in 8th. And I don't actually know this guy's name because he joined as a last minute replacement for Cameron Kaboom, but we'll call him Yux. And if that means something in another language, I do apologise. But there we go, those are our drivers tonight, and of course Estegobardi currently 2nd in the championship, missing out this evening, but will hopefully be able to join us back at the end of qualifying. I should probably find out if he's capable of doing so. Drivers making their way through the first chicane down the back straight. It is not the most entertaining qualifying lap times. It's really when they cross the line at the end is when you see the true pace and all the lap times start flooding in. we'll keep an eye on how the drivers negotiate this circuit. It's really easy to miss your braking zone. Try and brake that a little bit too late, and either go deep into a corner or wide over track limit. That sounds like someone losing the rear. Looks like James has lost a bit of time to Ate in front. Evans closer to the back of that Porsche than when he started the lap time, and the tyre screeching suggests maybe a spin or a slide through the second chicane. And will drivers will only get 2 opportunities to set a qualifying lap time tonight. 10-minute qualifying and a 3-minute 55-second lap time on average. However, I believe maybe 54s are possible for some of the drivers tonight. Anyone who gets into the 54s, even maybe the 53s with a tow, will be doing a very impressive job. Looks like Ate has closed down the gap to Xavier in the first half of this qualifying lap, so that suggests that the driver in the Genesis is going faster than that in the Porsche. If we ride on board actually with Ate Timgren, you can see, well, if we ride on board with Xavier Maynard actually, by the time they get to the apex, look at the time at the top and we'll see how different it is. 14 compared to a 3-minute 12, so there's nearly 2 seconds between the two. Xavier Maynard's all over the place going through the Porsche curbs, and because Tim's so close behind him, he can't find a way through. These two are almost racing in qualifying, and because they're only going to get 2 laps, Tim's has to make a decision here. He has to either abandon this one or commit, but start the next lap this close behind Xavier Maynard. Having said that, the option C, is to simply overtake and get past the BCR driver, going through the final couple of corners, those of which I do not know the names of. I only know the names of a couple of corners here at the track, and there are too many corners to count. The first lap time will be set by Ate Timgren, who sets a 53.8. That is one impressive lap time for the Flying Finn. James Kidwell goes into 3rd place behind his teammate Tim Denhire into 5th. Evan Dalton crosses the line in 6th. But I think a lot of drivers have been caught up in incidents throughout the course of the lap. We're approaching the high 4-minute mark, so I think everyone's just now spacing themselves out. Noah's got up into 2nd place, but that's a 2.5-second gap behind the man who's on provisional pole, but he's gone wide onto the curb. That could be track limits. I can never remember at that corner whether it's the curb or the white line, but it does appear to be the curb. He's got away with it. It's such a long lap time here at the Circuit de la Sarthe, 8.4 miles long, and about nearly 4 minutes in terms of lap time, which means you've got 4 minutes to try and keep your car between the white lines. Which can be a challenge, especially at this circuit. But a 3-minute 53.8 is an impressively fast lap time, especially when you've been held up a little bit through the Porsche curves. Ate was probably a little bit frustrated by that, and probably also a little bit surprised that he stuck it on provisional pole position. And the timer is up. Drivers are now officially on their final lap, but they were only ever going to get 2 flying laps here this evening. Ate Timgren's purple by 1/10.5 going through. I don't know what sector it is, I don't know what corner number it is. I will learn it throughout the course of this evening. Noah currently running in 2nd place. He's 3.5 tenths up on his personal best. Just begs the question, how fast has Ate Timgren gone through many of these corners to be that far in front. I mean, it's a long lap time, so you expect the gaps to be bigger than they were last week at a slightly shorter track like Brands Hatch, or the week before at the Red Bull Ring. But that must be one impressive lap time from him. Xavier Maynard's not improving through the middle part of the track. Noah's caught up to the back of Tim Den Haya, so he might be impeded going through the final couple of corners. Tim, though, doesn't need to get out of the way. He's on a flying lap as well, so isn't obliged to pull over. Yuks is on a flying lap. He's improving by nearly 9 seconds, but does have a time penalty which will cost him about a second's worth of lap time. Leon Van Voort is currently in last place, but hasn't set a legal lap time at the minute. Let's go back up to our provisional pole sitter. The final flying laps will be being set in the next couple of seconds. This is where the grid will be determined for the 60-minute race. Ate through the final chicane, up to the line. Does he improve on his 53.8? He does by 5.5 tenths and sets a 53.3. That's one impressive lap time from him. Xavier Maynard 4 seconds off the pace, but with a time penalty. James Kidwell moves up into third with a 3.56. Tim Den Haya with a 58.5. None of my keys are working. That's because I'm pressing the wrong ones. Evan Dalton improves to 4th place, goes ahead of Xavier Maynard. Noah doesn't improve by 1/10 of a second. Leon Van Voort goes up into 5th, but is demoted down to 6th because Maurizio Veldhuis goes into the top 5 with a 57.4, and I think that's qualifying for Albert Yuks, who improves into 9th with a 4-minute 4.8. But wow, what a lap time. And there's a reason he's called our Flying Finn, because he's 3 seconds clear of 2nd place. Now, I've been doing commentary for the best part of 3 years, and that's the biggest margin I think I've ever seen between the two drivers starting on the front row of the grid. Now, what I've done there... Actually, no, it's all good because I didn't take a screenshot of the results, but we have a thing called YouTube. What am I looking for? Grid order set by host. We have to wait for someone apparently, so that's perfect because we can set the grid in the meantime. We have to wait. And he's back. So if everyone could, if drivers are watching, if you could all enter the race, that would be super fantastic. Shall we? I would do a couple of laps. I say a couple of laps. That would take 8 minutes, but it is quite a long track. And it looks like everyone's entering at a quick rate. We've just got one more driver to go, but we can make a start. And to be fair, the grid is nearly in the correct order. We've got Evan Dalton. Actually, we can go through the grid now. So Ate Timgren starts on pole position. Noah Osbaldeston in 2nd place. It wasn't Xavier Maynard in 3rd. It was his teammate James Kidwell in 3rd. Evan Dalton in 4th, ahead of the other BCR driver. No, Xavier Maynard wasn't 5th. I don't know why I thought he was in 5th. Maurizio Veldhuis is in 5th, followed by Leon Van Voort in 6th. Then comes Xavier Maynard in 7th place. Tim Den Haya in 8th. Avesta Gabadi has left again. Let me try and find out why that is to be. He's restarting his Wi-Fi. There we go. And we get confirmation in the chat as well. So I can talk to you a little bit about the history of this circuit. I don't know much about it. It's in France, and it's long, 8.4 miles, which is about, what, 13 kilometers, 14 kilometers. Famously hosts the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Now I've got here it was built in 1920. How factually accurate that is, I am not sure, but a lot of the track remained fairly similar. The famous Indianapolis corner down and towards the about 60% of the way through the lap. But yeah, this track has seen a number of changes through the years. Its shape has developed. It had the infield circuit built as well, which is often used for MotoGP, the Bugatti circuit. And yeah, I'm not very knowledgeable on for this circuit, unfortunately. I'm not like many other commentators who could sit here and talk to you about the history of motor racing for 15 minutes while Ernesto Gobardi resets his internet. But what we can do, is anyone on a flying lap? Yes, we do. We've got Noah on a flying lap. Let's go. He's going through Indianapolis as well. So let's take you on a flying lap with him. He's got a 5/10 penalty. That's assuming he doesn't finish into a rule. A couple of handbrakes here and there. What about Xavier Maynard? How is he doing in the Porsche? Just seeing Evan joining us in the chat saying there's been a miracle on the grid as Evan starts in 4th place. An incredible qualifying from the Irishman to put himself inside the top 4. Starts on the 2nd row of the grid. We've got a car stopped on the exit of Indianapolis. But Ernesto Gobardi has joined the lobby. Is he ready? Yes, he is. He will start from the back of the grid, having missed qualifying. And there is your grid once again. Ate on pole, followed by Noah, James, Evan, Maurizio, Leon, Xavier, Tim, Yux, and Ernesto. We will tell the drivers our classic starting soon. Good luck. It's always a toss-up between these two, but we're going to go have a good race because the word clean, it's Le Mans. There's like 5 long straights, so who knows how clean it will be. And I think we are ready to go. We can get this race started. We've had a long enough break. Could have started. Well, it's 26 minutes past. This is completely unacceptable. No, it's fine. It's all good. We never start on time. Starting on time's a myth. No, it's like cinema tickets. Anyway. Welcome to round 4 of season 2. Ow. Here at the Circuit de la Sarthe for 60 minutes of racing. We've got 10 drivers on the grid. 5 red lights of this 6.4 mile circuit, and we go green here at Le Mans for the French Grand Prix. It's a good start from Ate Timgren, but a better one from Noah, who pulls alongside the Genesis in the run down towards the first corner. They're 2 by 2 in the background, but it's Ate with the inside line holding the lead going through the first chicane. Looks like Evan Dalton's had a good start. He's made his way up into a podium position as Xavier Maynard has dropped down into 9th place, and Ernesto Gobardi has moved his way up into 6th place, going round the outside of Liam Van Voort. Can he get down the inside of Maurizio Beltwis in the Nissan GTR? It's the inside becomes the outside, and the Ukrainian swoops up into the top 5 after 5 corners. Incredible stuff from the Ukrainian. Leon in 9th place has picked up the first time penalty. Might have been beaten though by Noah Ospodestin, who runs in 2nd place but with a time penalty. Hunting down our flying Finn, Ate Timgren, early on in the race. The drivers now making their way down towards the first chicane, and the front 2 have a lead. Side by side, Noah on the inside. Ate going to try and hold it round the outside. By the time they approach the braking zone, the Mercedes is in front and holds that braking zone and moves up into the lead of the race, albeit with a time penalty. Evan Dalton making up a position, moves up into the top 3, and Ernesto Gobardi already up into 4th. making moves like it's a walk in the park. His teammate Ate Timgren is fighting back for the lead of the race. He pulls alongside the Mercedes AMG going in towards the second chicane down the long back straight. The speed of the Genesis is too much for the Mercedes, that sends one back down the inside but backs out of it in the end, and it's Ate who retakes the lead of the race. But Noah's got a good run on the exit of the chicane. He will fight this one back in towards the hairpin. He's bumping the back of the Genesis in the run down towards, I think it's turn 14. It could be 15, I'm not entirely sure. But the gap's less than a tenth. They're side by side. Noah with the inside. Can Ate hold it round the outside? He's going to do his best, but is shown little to no room and tucks back in behind the Mercedes AMG. The front two putting on one incredible show and is bringing Evan Dalton into the fight for the lead of the race. Cameron Kaboom in the chat making a great point that the Genesis isn't great on its brakes, which could it will hinder it when going for moves, especially down the inside. Meanwhile, behind, Avesta Gobardi pulling alongside Evan Dalton. Ate Timgren trying to go round the outside of Noah into Indianapolis, but the Mercedes goes defensive to the inside and maintains the lead of the race as the other Spider GT driver, Avesta Gobardi, moves up into a podium place, going side by side with his teammate. Can he do the first challenge in a lap? That would be one impressive if he can do that. As Noah slows down for half a second to serve his time penalty, they're temporarily 3 wide down the back straight. Avesta Gobardi, I mean, if there was anyone who could do it, it would be him. He's gone from last to first in less than a lap here at the Circuit de la Sarthe, albeit it's 3 minutes and 15 seconds worth of racing, but that has to be an FVR record for the fastest any driver has gone from the back of the grid to the front. An unbelievable start for the Ukrainian, who picked up his first GT win in the Red Bull Ring for round 2. He's finished third, first, third. Maybe it's written in the stars for him to continue that pattern and go on and win this race. An unbelievable start. He said he left to restart his Wi-Fi, but I think he might want to check his game files, because through the final corner, Avesta Gobardi is going to lead the French Grand Prix after starting at the back of the grid. How on earth did he do that? Cameron says we need a replay. Well, ask and you shall receive. Unfortunately, I'm just about missed the very start of the start. But look at that incredible start. He's already up into 7th, 6th place by the time they get to turn 1. And then he goes around the outside of Leon Van Voort. He gets the traction on the exit to go round the outside of Maurizio Veldquist, which then becomes the inside, and then he dispatches of James Kidwell and Evan Dalton like they don't even exist down the back straights. And yes, we have the timer back up on the middle of the screen, so we know how long is left of this motor race. And we've had our first retirement less than 5 minutes into the race. Leon Van Voort has DNF'd from this race as the Spider GT drivers are 1 and 2. And having served his 5/10 penalty, Noah drops behind Evan Dalton, who's gone a little bit deep in towards the first chicane. That will allow the Mercedes driver to get a good exit and a good run on the exit of this chicane down the second of the 2 straights. And I imagine that the front two will be working together to pull out an advantage. Meanwhile, behind, the 2 BCI drivers might struggle for pace this week in that Porsche 911, which isn't the fastest in a straight line. And unfortunately for them, this track is composed of many straights. I don't know the exact number, but I'd imagine a large percentage of the lap is spent at full throttle. 2 drivers with their foot to the floor, Evan and Noah side by side. Evan trying to defend his podium position, but he's got Noah on his right hand side, which is the left hand side of your screen. Does the Mercedes send one down the inside? That looked a little bit late on the brakes for Evan, but he's held it, not as late as Avesta Gobardi, who's gone a little bit deep in towards the right hand hairpin. And that's brought Evan Dalton back into the lead for the top places in the top two, but he's going to work with Levester and just give him a little bit of a bump going in towards Indianapolis. Behind them as well, it's a great race so far for Tim Denhire, who failed to finish in Brands Hatch, but he's running inside the top five. Is under significant pressure though from James Kidwell, who pulls over to the right hand side of the circuit, and does go down the inside in towards Indianapolis, but becomes the outside for the left-hander. Is he shown a lot of room? Not a lot of room on the outside, and has to tuck back in behind for now. Up front though, Ate Timgren has a 1.8 second advantage over his teammate Vestago Bardi, who is dragging Evan and Noah along for that place on the podium. Behind them, Xavier Maynard leads Maurizio Veldhuis by 5/10 of a second going in towards the Porsche curves. The German Porsche leading the Japanese Nissan. And we've got Yuks running in 9th place on those soft compound tyres. I believe everyone has started this race on the red striped soft compound tyre, and will be looking to go long into this race. I say long, as far as they will take you. Here comes Noah through the final couple of corners. Evan Dalton's picked up a 5/10 penalty. That's late on the brakes for Noah, who sends one down the inside in towards the penultimate chicane and moves up into the top three and onto the podium, but has got 1.8 seconds to the car in front. Another driver picking up a penalty is Tim Denhire, who has a 1 second gap to James Kidwell behind, so he's going to be vulnerable if that gap is the same by the time they get to the penalty gate. Slightly fortunately for him, he's got 3 minutes to work out that advantage, but he's made a little bit of a mistake going through the first chicane. He's gone a little bit deep, and now that gap's closed down to 0.6 of a second. Our championship leader continues to prove why he is the championship leader. Ate Timgren is leading the French Grand Prix, 2.5 seconds clear of his teammate, who's picked up a half a second time penalty somewhere through the first sector. Evan Dalton, Tim Denhire, two other drivers who have picked up a time penalty on this lap alone. Maurizio Veldhuis is working with Xavier Maynard in the run down towards the first chicane down the back straight to try and close down that gap to the two cars in front. That's Tim Denhire and James Kidwell going side by side through the first chicane. The Dutchman holding his ground on the inside and maintains in 5th place. And these guys battling have brought Xavier and Maurizio Veldhuis closer to that battle for 5th place. 3 seconds though separate the top 4 from the bottom 5. However, the move is on for James Kidwell, who pulls up alongside Tim Denhire going in towards the hairpin. Meanwhile, Evan Dalton down the inside moves up into a podium position, albeit he has a 5/10 penalty, but he's got a little bit wide and deep. So has James Kidwell, who's got even wider, nearly rejoins in the path of his teammate, who now drops down into 7th place, maybe even 8th, because here comes Maurizio Veldhuis in the Nissan GTR, pulls up alongside and now ahead of James Kidwell, who was trying to make a move for 5th place, but in doing so has lost 2 positions and now runs in 8th. Back up to the front, and our young Irishman, the boss man himself, is running in a podium position. It's a Genesis 1, 2 and 3 as here comes Xavier Maynard down the inside and towards Indianapolis. Has he gone a little bit wide? No, Tim Denhire goes too deep, was too ambitious in trying to keep the position. He's gone off and is now down into 8th place. But it's now Xavier Maynard who leads his teammate. Evans slows down for half a second to serve his time penalty, promoting Noah up into 3rd. Let's go back and watch how these events unfolded. On board with James Kidwell initially, late on the brakes, far too late. Got a tap from Tinden Higher. I didn't actually notice that initially. And then I think this will be a good view to ride on board with in the driver's eye from James Kidwell, putting the pressure on Maurizio Veldhuis. Sees a gap on the inside, running 2 by 2 like Noah's Ark. His teammate getting the move done on Tinden Higher before in Indianapolis. Toussaint on the inside, and then he's going to get a bit of a shock view when he sees that car flying past his bonnet, but he won't mind because he's up into 5th place. "47 minutes left on the clock, and Ate Timgren leads here at Le Mans, followed by his teammate Vestager Barley, who started on at the back of the grid. And is now up into 2nd place. Was temporarily leading this race, and it is getting a bit cloudy. Now, I don't want to get my hopes up, but there is a chance of rain. The race is an hour long, so in theory that's 15 minutes where we could, or 15 minutes more where it could rain. So there's technically a 33% chance of it, well, 33% more of the chance of it raining than any other wet race this season, because it's 15 minutes longer. It's a 60-minute endurance. And of course we can check the weather radar, but I think you guys would much rather watch the on-track racing than the weather station. Is that someone spinning? No, it's just drivers going through the chicane. I thought the arrows made it look like someone was spinning. But Evan Dalton, who was running in a podium position, has dropped down to 4th after serving a time penalty on the last lap and getting another one on this lap, which means he could lose a further position to Xavier Maynard behind. It does look a little bit misty, a little bit foggy down that back straight, but I don't think there is a spot of rain on the radar. I would love there to be, that'd be incredible. We'll keep an eye on this battle for 4th place, because we might see a move very shortly from Xavier Maynard, who's 8th, 10th, 7/10 behind Evan Dalton, who's having a great race up in 4th place, albeit he is collecting time penalties like a pet rock. It's just one after another at this rate. I mean, there are worse analogies that I could have come up with, but I chose the PG one. Xavier now moves up into 4th place, and it could be a double blow for Evan Dalton, because the other BCR car, it's bright and yellow, you cannot miss it. They're side by side. A little bit of door banging, I think, between the two, and I'm being informed that there is rain on the ray. Look at that in the bottom right hand. Oh, it's nothing. Oh, well, that's no fun. But there is mist in the air. There's rain on the radar. And that is a positive thing, albeit it just looks like a light shower, and at the minute it's not going to impact the drivers. Although thank you, game, that you've given us Ate's weather radar, because now we can have live updates on the weather. Now, for those of you who know me and hosting GT lobbies, it doesn't rain at all. Even when I set it to rain, it will rain for about 3 laps and then stop. The fact that we're getting anything on the radar is short of a miracle. But the rain is hitting the circuit in Sector 1 and the wipers are working. We've got drivers into pit lane. Timden Hire is the first driver into the pits off of the soft compound tyres. Is this going to be for a wet weather set of tyres, or will it be for the mediums? The rain is starting to pick up its intensity, but it doesn't look like it's going to hit the first bar. Remember, if it hits the first bar, then it is officially a wet race. That means drivers do not have to use the mandatory 2 sets of tyres like you do in F1. The headlights have lit up on the Genesis. We're going to keep on board with Tim because he's the only one with Ate, because he's the only one with the weather radar. Having said that, there is a battle for 4th place going on. That bar has nearly hit the first bar, which means we can nearly officially declare a wet race. I've been building up to this moment for the best part of a month. There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's official. We have a wet race. Apologies, I just need to put wet race confirmed in the chat so drivers are aware that the race is officially wet and the mandatory 2 sets of tyres is now out of the window. So drivers can go soft, medium if they wanted to do so, because the grip bar has gone up, the grip meter, has gone up past the first bar. Braking is going to be tricky, especially into these heavy braking zones. Ate Timgren, though, holds it nicely. The circuit not extremely wet. We're at the crossover phase between the slicks and what would be the intermediate tyre. 20 minutes into this race and we do have a wet race. Everyone, though, seems to be managing the conditions fairly well. This could be a great strategy for Timden Hire, who has pitted early for the intermediates, and the rain is picking up down the back straight. The second half of the track is a lot wetter than the first. Ate is off, the race leader's off down at Indianapolis. Just total understeer, no grip on the cars. We could see another one fly off. Indeed, we do not. Yellow flags, the race leader, the championship leader's off. Noah's off as well. It's pandemonia going into Indianapolis. The 2 BCR drivers hold it nicely and aren't making mistakes, as does Evan Dalton. Tiger Assassins ran wide. Evans ran wide and off the track, and he's in the barrier. Esteban Bardi leads in a chaotic Circuit de la Sarthe. The French Grand Prix has erupted. Noah Oswald-Destin's lost a position as Tiger Assassin's gone deep into turn. And that was just a funny accident. You just saw this bright yellow Porsche shooting, flying in front of the camera. It's for those who watched Formula E in season 9. It's like that race in New York, where every driver just started to struggle in the conditions. James Kidwell now overtakes Noah in 5th as they all struggle for grip. Ernesto Bardi's off and into the wall at the Porsche curbs. It's nearly a race for full wet tyres as Ate Timgren now hunts down for the race lead, and it was looking like such an unlikely position for Xavier Maynard, who now finds himself in a podium position and only 2.5 seconds off the lead of the race. Wow! Noah's gone from 3rd to 6th as Maurizio Veldwist is stationary in the middle of the track and is spun round by the Brit. As drivers struggle for grip, Ate Timgren's off. The race leader, Ernesto Gobardi, spinning off and is nearly collected by Xavier Maynard, who takes the lead of the race, but he stays out on a set of dry tyres. Wow! Ate Timgren is into the pits, but a brave call for the Brit. This is make or break. The Spider GT drivers are into the pits. Tiger with rear damage is struggling and has been overtaken by Noah Oswald-Destin in the Mercedes AMG. But the rain has stopped. But the carnage continues. And it's all about being on the right tyre at the right time. Are these drivers pulling into the pits, making the right decision? Or is this a BCR masterclass? No, it's not, because he's in the wall. Xavier Maynard is in the wall, but first we're going to get a couple of replays. Firstly of this, downing towards on the exit of Indianapolis. There's Evans spinning in the background. James Kidwell, he's so early on the brakes but just has no grip whatsoever. I think pitting is the best option. This is what happened to Xavier Maynard. We just caught the end of it, unfortunately, but now he's got bumper damage and a 20-second gap to Ate Timgren. A masterclass that's turned into a disaster class for the race leader. James has gone into mediums. It's medium tyres for James Kidwell. Now the strategist may be sat in a garage, but it doesn't take a genius to work out that it is still wet on track. Having said that though, it has dried very quickly in the first sector. The first part of the track was the first section to receive where it rained. And it is the first part of the track that is dried. Yellow flags in sector 1, and that's because the race leader has dropped it at the first chicane. To start with, this is Evan Dalton coming out of the pits, just dropping it on the exit, doing a full, well, that's like 360s, and then the race leader went head first into the barrier. That's a race-ending crash. And unfortunately, we just about caught the end of that. But that 19-second gap has evaporated into a 9/10th gap. Ate Timgren flashing his lights at the race leader because Xavier Maynard's already on the brakes a lot earlier than those on the intermediates. However, now this is a big however, if he can keep it on the track, it is nearly dry. The drivers on the inters will have to pit soon for another set of dry compound tyres. If Xavier Maynard can keep 20 seconds... Oh no, that doesn't really make sense because he's got to pit again. Hang on, Xavier Maynard could go to the end of the race. It's officially oh, do you? Oh, now I don't know the rules here. Oh, this is going to spark controversy to drivers now watching the stream, because could he go to the end on a set of medium compound tyres? Because it's officially a declared race. I will need to check the rules. So if Xavier Maynard could go to the end of the race in those medium tyres and not get disqualified by the wording of my rules, then he's pulled a masterclass here, I think. Because Ate Timgren is going to have to build a pit stop lead on these intermediates, where the track, however, has dried up to the point where we're back at the crossover point for dry tyres. I hope everyone watching the stream knows the point I'm on about. Ernesto Gavardi, though, using the grip on these intermediate tyres in these wet conditions to close down the gap to Xavier Maynard. James Kidwell and Evan Dalton have dropped quite a long way back on their dry tyres, so that just shows how not the confidence, but I guess the confidence and the skill that Xavier's had to keep the car mostly on the track in these wet conditions on the dry tyre. Ate's staying out, the weather radar looks clear, and an on contact between the two drivers running in second and third place. Ernesto Gavardi going into the back of Xavier Maynard, but I don't think there's any damage and no one's gone off the track. But I don't think the Brit will be too happy about that, as Vesta now pulls up alongside the Porsche. They are side by side going through the first corner, but by the time they get to the end of the first corner, it's Ernesto Gavardi in front of Xavier Maynard. Now, masterclass or disaster class, we'll find out when the checkered flag drops, but it was looking like a dull race in fourth place for Mr. Maynard until he decided to stay out in the wet weather conditions on those dry tyres, and is now running in third place. So overall, it's not been that bad of a call, I would say. as the driver, that wet weather period has spread the field out quite a bit. If we go from bottom to top, Yucks in 9th place was 21 seconds behind Evan Dalton, who's 20 seconds behind James Kidwell, who's 16 seconds behind Maurizio Beltbus, who's 5 seconds behind Noah Oswald-Destin, who's 10 seconds behind Tim Denhire, who's 4 seconds behind Xavier Maynard. So the top 4, the gap between each driver in the top 4 is fairly close, but it appears that everyone outside of the top 4 has struggled with that wet spell. And that is the harsh reality of racing. You could do absolutely nothing wrong to your driving, but that outside second factor can just put you off, and not, well, in this game, because there's no safety car, it can ruin your race, essentially. In other sports like, you know, F1, WEC, it's a little bit different. There are yellow flags, there are safety cars, red flags, to bring the field back close together again. But unfortunately, there are no safety cars in this game, and we do not have a large enough stewards pool for GT to manage a manual safety car. And that in itself, the thought of it, as much as it's a good one, and you can say, oh, why don't you do manual safety cars? If someone has a crash, you can call a safety car. Then you will get controversy of when do you bring a safety car, how do you dictate a safety car, and all of the other factors that go with it. You know, if it's a game like F1 calling the safety car, then it's, you know, it's artificial intelligence doing that. It's not a subjective opinion. But besides talking about safety cars and controversy, let's talk about the top 3. Ate Timgren pitted for the intermediate tyres, as did his teammate. Xavier Maynard stayed out on the tyres he started the race on, which was that yellow striped medium. Now, can he take those mediums for 31 minutes? I think he could, but I think it'd be wise to pit again. Ooh, that could be track limits for Ernesto Govardi. I think he rejoined over the white line past the curb, but clearly not. That's a driver coming into the pits. It's the race leader, Ate Timgren. Ernesto Govardi stays out, and never mind, Xavier Maynard is going to have to pit again, because I just remembered one important factor that has been flashing on the screen all race long: fuel. The drivers do not have enough fuel to make it to the end of the race and will need to refuel at some point, meaning that drivers will need to make another pit stop, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately for Xavier Maynard, I've been complimenting his race strategy and decision to stay out. However, what the rain has done... Is it raining again? No, it's not. Never mind. I've lost my train of thought. It's actually been a masterclass for him, because look at these drivers who started on the soft compound tyres. They're pretty much punctured. So he would have had to have been in the pits at the end of this lap anyway, and if it was still raining, it would be an absolute disaster for him. What isn't great is that he's picked up a 1 second time penalty. I feel like I've waffled a lot in the last 40 seconds. I went down a train of thought, and then another path opened up, and I walked down that one instead. It was a lot longer, and had the words unnecessary written all over it, but that's where we ended up. We ended up at the same place. We just went down. See, look, now I've taken a different path down the road of waffle, it seems. Back to the racing action. The sun's beginning to set. 30 minutes into this race, 30 minutes to go of this 1 hour endurance special. 9 tenths between the top two. Ernesto Govardi is beginning to struggle a bit on those intermediate tyres and has significantly less fuel than Xavier Maynard. So take the penalty out of the equation, and you have one driver who's low on fuel and on worse tyres compared to another driver who has to spend less time in the pits refueling. Apologies. But does have a 1 second time penalty. There's always one factor that hits you on the head. For some drivers tonight it's been rain, for others penalties, and for few, not it. it's a very car-dependent track. Not every car is going to work around this circuit because of the straight line speed advantage that others oppose, although they will be better later on in Grand Hat Valley and Interlagos. This could be a move for the lead of the race. Xavier Maynard attacking Avesta Govardi, two drivers who have had very different starts to this season. One a very positive start to the season, taking 3 podiums and 1 win, and another who has struggled to put the lap times together. The consistency's been there for Xavier Maynard, but the race pace, unfortunately for him, has not. However, there's no doubting his race pace and racing intellect tonight, because he's now alongside, and for the first time this season, leads here. Oh no, he led earlier. No, he did. No, but he leads laps, and that's good for a driver mentally. So get that under your skin. Leading laps in a race can just build the confidence. Although, unfortunately for him, it's lasted about 17 seconds because he's going to slow down for one of those seconds to serve a time penalty as Avesta Govardi drives straight through the Porsche, which technically is not amazing to do because of the if you unghost, then we can't penalise a driver for driving through a ghosted car that unghosts. Unless they're weaving on the racing line, then yeah, fair enough. The track though is still wet off the racing line, and I wonder if that might catch a couple of drivers out. Drivers will be getting the information on the screen as we are now, telling them to refuel. Has someone gone off? Oh no, it just always looks like someone goes off down at this corner. The arrows really go a little bit further than the track, but race leader Avesta Govardi is into the pits, and Xavier Maynard stays out. So we learned that the softs can do... When did Noah pit? So Noah pit at the end of lap 7. So softs can do about 30 minutes. So Avesta Govardi should be good to go to the end of the race. Xavier Maynard, though, may be trying to create a slight tyre offset, but also means that he has to put less fuel in the car because it's one less lap, essentially. It's a weird dilemma in strategy. Do you take fresh tyres and gain time there, or do you gain the time putting one less lap of fuel in the car by staying out? Avesta Govardi, though, rejoins the track in 5th place behind James Kidwell, who has actually made a pit stop onto the medium compound tyres. So, like I said, it was looking all doom and gloom for James Kidwell, but he's up into the top 4. He's 35 seconds behind his teammate, but his teammate does have to make another pit stop. Ooh. Ding-a-ling, rain alert. Oh, it's going away. I think that was the rain we had earlier. Another spell of it, just missing the circuit. Although it might come back later. Whilst we have not a significant amount of on-track action, I would like to take the opportunity to have a look at the weather radar. I know this is not what everyone wants to look at, but I think it's worth looking at it. So, 30 minutes ago, this is the start of the race, and in a couple of seconds we will get the first spell. There it is, which got heavier as we approached England, which makes a lot of sense. Ooh, there is a heavy spell of rain on its way. Right, okay. Will it hit the track? I'm not too sure, because which way... I think the wind is blowing the rain away from the circuit. So if we do get rain, I think it's going to hit the bottom of the track first, where Xavier Maynard is. But it might just get pushed to the side. Can you imagine that as a strategy? I know it can happen in this game. It's very, very rare, unless you're at the Nordschleife, but can you imagine a 50-50 split where like the back straight is wet and the other half's dry? That would be incredible. Anyway, you've watched this if you're watching this stream, you've tuned in because you like racing. You're not here for the weather. So let's give you a race rundown with... Oh, we've lost our timer. I think if we do this, then we will get it back. Yay! So, we've been racing for 36 minutes, and to recap what's happened thus far, back to that shortly, because Esteban Bardi has just overtaken James Kidwell. He's moved his way up into 4th place in the rundown towards Indianapolis. The Ukrainian on a charge back to the front. So your race rundown so far. Ate Timgren started on pole position, and his teammate Esteban Bardi started at the back. Avesta then took the lead of the race before the end of lap 1, and is now running in 4th place. We got hit with a shower of rain that officially made this race a wet race. About 20 minutes in, the rain itself lasted for about 10 minutes, and now we are seeing drivers make that pit stop from the intermediate or the dry compound tyre to for their second stop. Some drivers stayed out on the slicks, some drivers pitted for a set of intermediates. Maurizio Beltwist was one of those drivers who I believe pitted for a set of the intermediates. Tim Denhire was the first. Ate Timgren pitted the lap later, and there is the rain that I said might just miss the circuit. Ate Timgren, though, is working his way to the inside, side by side with Maurizio Beltwist in the run down towards turn 1. The flying Finn sends himself back up into the lead of the race. Now I encourage all the viewers and the spectators to stand at the side of the track and blow that wind, blow the rain onto the track, because wouldn't we like to see a bit more drama? It's a little bit annoying that in the spectator cam we can't scroll along the MFD. I don't know why Ate is just the only one with the weather radar open. That is not what the drivers are looking at, by the way. Everyone's not on their track map. I'm sure everyone's looking at their fuel, changing their brake bias, looking at the radar and also the weather radar. Maurizio Beltwist, though, he's gone under the radar. We've been talking about the radar a lot today, but this is a man who's completely flown under it. He now runs in 2nd place. I think he started, was it 5th or 6th, I believe, and is now inside the top 2, running in a podium place. And that spell of wet weather is going to miss the circuit, unfortunately. You can just see it in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, moving away from the circuit, which is unfortunate, but we could get another spell towards the end of the race. 20 minutes to go. I think if we are going to get rain between now and the checkered flag, then it will be right at the end in the final 5 minutes. That will be my prediction. But time will tell. Will we get another wet spell in this race? The 2 BCR drivers who had a slow start to this race, it had to be said, have come into it to their own since that wet period. James Kidwell leads his teammate Xavier Maynard going through the hairpin at the end of the circuit. I wonder if we will see team orders here with Xavier Maynard on fresher, soft compound tyres. He pulls over to the right hand side of the circuit, now the left hand side of the screen. So they go in single file once again down the back straight in the run down towards Indianapolis. But it's now Xavier Maynard who leads his teammate James Kidwell as the sun begins to set behind the trees of Indianapolis. Now I think these 2 cars running on track together as the sun begins to set and the floodlights illuminate the circuit, they will look stunning on circuit, made by the man himself, Mr. Maynard, running in 4th place. back up to the front of the field. Ate Timgren with the fastest lap of the race so far, 3 minute 54.8. Leads the French Grand Prix, followed by Maurizio Veldhuis in second place, but on a very worn set of medium compound tyres, and that's because I don't think he's made a pit stop. No, he dives into the pits at the end of lap 10, so Ernesto Gobardi will be promoted up into second place and Xavier Maynard into the podium positions. Towards the back of the pack though, we have Noah Osbaldeston closing on the back of Evan Dalton. The Irishman will have to defend from the Brits if he is to finish this race in 7th place, although he has 17 minutes to do so, and I think similar tyres, slightly worse, 7 pitted a lap before Noah. The sun is beginning to set. We are approaching golden hour here at Le Mans. Not quite the golden hour you get at sunrise, but sunset nevertheless. Race leader Ate Timgren's picked up a 5/10 penalty for track limits, which we will have to serve at the penalty gate, but fortunately for him he's got a 13-second gap to Ernesto Gobardi behind. Xavier Maynard, in his pursuit of Ernesto Gobardi, has picked up a time penalty as well. That won't be doing him any favours. Now, I think we're about to catch a move for 6th place. Both drivers with time penalties. Noah with the overspeed. Evan might have made a mistake through the right-hander as the Mercedes flies past the Genesis on the inside. As they approach the braking zone for the chicane, that's where the replay unfortunately ends. But just to confirm it, back to the live action, Noah is up into 6th place. A lot of drivers picking up time penalties here on lap 11. We've got currently 4 noted for time penalties. Are there any more? Not that I can see. But this is the closest battle out on the track, but I think Noah might have the advantage here with the fresher tyres. Evan though still in the slipstream. If he can keep within a second, 8/10 of that Mercedes, then he's in a good shot of sticking with him and maybe getting back past into 6th place as they close down the gap to Tim Denhire, who's struggling a little bit on those tyres. Evan Dalton braking a little bit too deep, and he's lost about a second to Noah in front. But the race leader, Ate Timgren, has slowed down for half a second to serve that time penalty. The gap between Avesta and Xavier has increased by about 3/10 over the course of this lap, although it's going to increase by a little bit more by the time the Brit serves his time penalty. The gap now 1.4 seconds between Tim Denhire and Noah Osbaldeston. I've noticed this a couple of times this evening that Tim Denhire appears to be struggling with rear grip in that Nissan. It's a couple of times he's been sliding on the exit of corners. The gap now increased into 2.4, having served the time penalty. Evan now 2 seconds behind Noah, so that battle's not over yet. As Ate Timgren rounds the final corner to start lap 12, his teammates making his way through the final chicane, 12 seconds behind. Xavier Maynard's picked up another time penalty through the Porsche curbs. Half a second to his name, 8 seconds now behind Ernesto Gobardi. His teammate James Kidwell, 6 seconds behind him. 26 seconds off the lead of the race. As the sun has set, the headlights are on, and the floodlights will be lighting up this circuit. We probably, if my calculations are right, I don't think we will get to full midnight. It should just be just a bit dark by the time we get to the end of the race. A nice day to night transition for the drivers this evening. We're past the 45-minute mark. We're over 75% of the way through the race, and we're down to the final 13 minutes. Yux is in from 9th place off the soft compound tyres. Might go on to another set of soft compound tyres to challenge for the fastest lap. The sky looks clear, and the track is clear if your name is Ate Timgren. Fortunately for Xavier Maynard, Vestager Bardi's picked up a half-a-second time penalty. Unfortunately for Xavier Maynard, he also has a 5/10 time penalty, which he will have to serve at the penalty gate. So that gap will stay at around 9 seconds between the two. It's been a good race for James Kidwell as well, who struggled in the first two races and is running 9th in the championship behind Leon Van Voort and Noah Oswald-Eston, but is outscoring the two of them. Those are his nearest championship rivals after the first 3 rounds, but of course he missed the first race at Sardinia B. Noah, though, is gaining on the back of Timden Haya, and he's bringing Evan Dalton along with him in the background. As you can see, Maurizio Veldhuis is also keen to get involved in this action, so we could have a last lap showdown for 5th place between some of these drivers, all of which I believe are on the medium compound tyres, apart from Xavier Maynard, who started on the yellow striped tyre. As we ride on board with Noah going through Indianapolis, sparks being kicked up by the GTR in front. Timden Haya holds the track position, but how important is that here at the Circuit de la Sarthe, where there are lots of long straights and heavy braking zones? A time penalty for Evan Dalton, who slows down to serve that, and just when he gets close enough to challenge for position, he has to slow down to serve a time penalty. One might wonder where Evan would be in this race if it wasn't for track limits. A little bit of contact between the Mercedes and the Nissan going in towards the Porsche curves. Timden Haya holding 5th place for now, but has Noah all over the back of him, bumping him through the long swoop-in right-hander. It's not only a matter of when, not where, for Noah to get past the struggling Nissan, who squeezes him all the way over to the AstroTurf on the outside. Timden Haya late on the brake, so late off the brake that he's cut through the chicane. Through goes Noah into 5th place to end lap 12 and start lap 13 with just under 10 minutes left to go. A good move from Noah, who promotes himself into the top 5. 6 seconds now is his gap to James Kidwell, with 9 minutes to go. So we've got about 3 laps of racing. And now, well, it's not impossible. So we'll keep an eye on that gap. So Evan picked up another penalty. It's hard not to be disappointed when he was running in 2nd place at one stage of this race. No, disappointed is the wrong word. I'm sorry, Evan, but if there is someone who has absolutely nothing to do and has plenty of spare time, I would love to know how many seconds worth of time penalties Evans picked up over the course of this 60-minute endurance race, because I think we're probably closer to double digits than we are naught. which is unfortunate for him because he's shown great pace, especially in the first 5 laps before the wet weather fell. There, another example of Tim Den Haya throwing the back end out. Look at the gap between Noah and James. It's been reduced quite significantly. Has James got a fuel issue? Look at the fuel bar compared to Noah. I think Noah might have overfueled in comparison to the cars around him. Although it's you don't need a genius to tell you that Tiger has definitely got the least out of the drivers inside the top 8. Tim Den Haya, though, he's not given this position up without a fight. He's now alongside the Mercedes down the back straight. Tim on the inside, Noah on the outside. They bang doors more than once. He's forced Noah all the way over to the white line as they approach the braking zone. Evan Dalton's got a little bit deep into the corner and has cost himself a couple of tenths as Maurizio Veldhuis now enters the equation in the background. I could steal some points off the young Irishman in the final few minutes of this race. And they've nudged more than once. They've weaved twice down the back straights. Noah on the inside. They bang doors once again. Maybe it's a sign to let them know I'm here and I'm not moving. Tim Den Haya, though, he's gone way too deep down the inside and he's off into the gravel, down into 6th place. Evan Dalton will say thank you very much and go past up into 6th place, and Maurizio Veldhuis may even get the move as well. Yes, he will, because Tim Den Haya has gone deep and nearly collects the back of the other Nissan. Now, everyone who makes a mistake is entitled to a replay. And there you go. That is the sight of a car that I would say was a little bit ambitious to hold it round the outside of Indianapolis. And then you fall into the trap of thinking you can brake later than you can. And then you're greeted with gravel and barrier. Evan Dalton and Maurizio Veldhuis trading positions. Evans ran wide and off the track. I think the stewards are not going to be happy with him today because 3, 2, 1. There you go. Evan collecting time penalties like a 12-year-old collecting match attacks back in the day. Certainly in my day, that was all people were talking about. I say back in the day, 2013. Makes me sound young. I say back in the day like it's the 1970s. But let's just go back and quickly have a look to see how these two trade positions. I think we've just about missed the end of that, actually. Oh no, it was through this part of the circuit. They definitely changed positions. Evan running wide opens the door for Maurizio Veldhuis to go down the inside. But then it's a left-hander and you can't quite hold it around the outside. But great racing between those two. Noah, though, is lapping faster than James. James, it's Valtteri. Noah is faster than you. 4 minute 0 for him on the last lap. James 4 minute 3. 3 seconds difference between the two. Noah begins to flash his lights as the sun has now set behind the trees. We are into night's racing for the final 5 minutes, and this time progression is pretty much exactly what I had planned for it to be. Evan and Maurizio side by side through the first chicane. Evan forcing Maurizio all the way over to the white line, but all is fair in love and war. They're going to go side by side down the back straight. There is nothing to separate the two, apart from the fact that one has collected more time penalties than the other. That is the only major difference. Evan, though, with the inside line, he's late on the brakes and he's got the position up into 6th place, but he's gone a little bit wide. He's gone deep. That opens the door and an opportunity for Maurizio Veldhuis to fight back. as they go side by side down the unlit back straight, their headlights guiding the way, and their tail lights showing where they've been. Inside, outside, choose your lane. It's the inside from Maurizio Veldquist, defending from Evan Dalton, who's going to try and attack around the outside late in the brakes, but it's too late, too deep for Evan. How many times have we said that today? How many times will we say it in the final 3 minutes? Unfortunately for the Irishman, it seems to be the same mistakes popping up late on the brakes, and that half a second time penalty will curse him will be cursing him for the rest of the race, maybe the rest of the evening. We don't know how much it would affect him, but I think it's fair to say that Evan Dalton would be a couple of seconds up the road had he not been picking up these half a second time penalties, which is really easy to do at this circuit as you push the white lines. Noah, though, has been pushing to close down that gap to James Kidwell, who finds himself under pressure from the Brit. There may be fuel concerns in the cockpit of that Porsche, as the fuel light is flashing on board with Noah inside the Mercedes AMG. He gets good runs. He's been getting good runs through the Porsche curves all race. Can he challenge into the final chicane? He's side by side. No, he's not. I thought he was going to go for it, you know. It wouldn't be the first time he's pulled off a crazy move, as Ate Timgren has long started the final lap of the race. He's already down the back straight, and the weather radar is clear of rain. So with 1 minute 50 to go, we start the final lap of this 1 hour endurance. Evan Dalton has picked up another 5/10 penalty, and in doing so has lost the position to Tim Den Hyer. They're going to go side by side down the start-finish straight. It's the Nissan on the inside, the Genesis on the outside. But that will all change by the time they get to turn 2. Evans held it round the outside, will become the inside for the turn 2 left-hander chicane. And Evan Dalton wins that battle, but there are many more to go. He's won the first battle. Can he win the war in the battle for second place? Likewise, James Kidwell holding off Noah Osbaldeston. It's where and when do you want to lead? In an ideal world, you want to lead over the final, through the final corner and over the line, but you have to, at a track like Le Mans, you really have to plan when and where you make your overtakes. Noah's going for it now, down the inside and towards the first chicane. Can he get it stopped in time? Yes, he can. Tiger Assassin concedes the position, but will slot behind the Mercedes AMG. Surprise, surprise, it's another time penalty for the Irishman. Evan Dalton picks up another time penalty, and at this rate will have to start the next race in the English Channel. Picks up one more, he might have to start in his home country in Ireland. Back up to the battle for the top 4. I think Tiger's struggling for fuel. He doesn't seem to be closing down the gap to Noah, and he's gone deep, he's gone wide, he's off the track. The camera's not picking him up. And was that one mistake too many in the end? He's not made many, to be fair to him this evening. Let's ride on board. I think riding on board will give us the best view of it. Nearly hits the back of the Mercedes and rejoins the track on the right side of the bollards. Tim Den Hyer, though, has picked up a 1 second time penalty, so he will join Evan in those for those time penalties. It's all about track position. Tim Den Hyer poses nose in on the inside. I don't think Evan saw him coming. Tim was looking to dive one down the inside, and this battle for 7th place is not over, because here comes Tim Den Hyer on the back of Evan Dalton. I think the battle for 4th place is a sealed deal, and what has been a race that was pretty much controlled by Atom Timgren from start to finish. It had its had an unstable bit in the middle when it started to rain, but everyone made a mistake in that wet weather period. But since it's been dry, there's been nothing to stop this man. There's been no one to stop him all season. He got the fastest lap in round 1, 2, 3 with a 3-minute 54.8. It's 4 consecutive fastest laps, 4 consecutive podiums, 2 wins. Azate Timgren, our flying Finn, wins the French Grand Prix here at the Circuit de la Sarthe. Evan Dalton is still ahead of Tim Den Hyer as they make their way to the Porsche curves. There's another Spider GT 1-2, the second of the season. And Xavier Maynard started this race on the medium compound tyres and was one of very few drivers to stay out when it rained. And apart from a couple of spins here and there during that weather period, he's coped brilliantly to take that Porsche into a podium position. He finished second at Sardinia B, and it's third here at Le Mans with his second podium of the season. Noah Oswald Destin will finish in 4th place. Tiger Assassin will finish in 5th for his best of the season. Richard Veldhuis behind him in 6th, very close in the end, just needed another lap or 2. The battle for 7th place is not over. There's a bump from Evan as Tim Den Hyer gets reset behind the chicane, and Evan Dalton will somehow finish in 7th place. I think the stewards might be interested in looking at that. We'll watch it again, but it's a bit of a naughty bump from Evan Dalton here into the final chicane, yeets him over the corner, and then the stewards, or he gets reset back behind Evan to finish in 8th. And if that's not the dark art, I don't know what is. I don't think Yerkes has had a very pleasant second half to this race with a 4-minute 24 on lap 9. Oh no, sorry, that's when he pitted. But a 4-minute 10 on the last lap, so might have made a mistake, which is very easy to do at a track like Le Mans, especially when your surroundings have been changing from the start. You know, your braking points change, the winds change direction. From a day to night race, it can be difficult to adjust, and he's hopped in to replace the missing Cameron Hill, but nevertheless will finish this race in 9th place. As he makes his way through the final couple of corners and will score himself 2 points after 16 laps. So there we have it. Ate Timgren wins the French Grand Prix here at the Circuit de la Sarthe. Picks up his second win of the season. 4 consecutive podiums, 4 consecutive fastest laps. Can anyone stop this man from winning? As the weeks go on, it's proving to be increasingly difficult. But there is your finishing order for today's race. Ate Timgren wins the 60 minutes of Le Mans, makes it a Spider GT 1-2 in the 2 Genesises. Xavier Maynard finishes in 3rd place to round out the top 3, his second podium of the season, his first since round 1. Noah Oswald Destin's finished in 4th place ahead of James Kidwell in 5th. Richard Veldhuis in 6th ahead of Evan Dalton in 7th. Tim Den Hyer in 8th, followed by Yerkes in 9th, and Leon Van Voort is the only non-finisher for today's race. A post-race comment from Evan Dalton to say, I'd just like to say I 100% punted him on purpose, but I also own the league, so what's he going to do about it? To which Tim Den Hyer has replied, I fully respect Evan for that bump. I mean, overall, the stewards have been slapping Evan in the face with 5/10 penalties, left, right and centre. One might wonder where he'd have finished had he not picked up all those 5/10 penalties. Could have maybe finished on the podium. We'll never know. But that will be it for today's race. Round 4 of Season 2 here at the Circuit de la Sarthe at a Tim Grid, taking home the victory. Join us next week, and I am very much looking forward to this one because we head off to Tokyo Expressway for the south clockwise loop, where there is a very interesting chicane towards the end of the lap. Many drivers will negotiate it cleanly, but many will be thrown into the air and greeted with the barrier on the exit of the corner. To put it to you, for those who don't know the track, imagine if Monaco had a sausage curb on the inside of turn 1. You take that sausage curb, you're being thrown into a barrier. If you want to see the carnage, you're going to have to tune in same time, same place next week. The Yeet chicane, as Cameron says. But anyway, I've been Nathan. I hope you guys have enjoyed as much as I have. Make sure to like and subscribe. We have a couple of reserve spots open. If you'd like to join us, make sure to contact me on PlayStation or Discord, or leave a comment on this video and we will get back to you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time for the Japanese Grand Prix at Tokyo. Goodbye.